Hello and welcome to all my Flosstube neighbors. I'm Chris and this is XrossStitch, and today is Tuesday, October the 31st, 2023. Happy Halloween, everyone. And this is Flosstube number 64. I'm so thrilled that my Flosstube day is on Halloween. It is one of my favorite holidays. I've always loved it, and I love stitching spooky Halloween stuff, as so many of you do. And it just tickles me that this day is the day that I'm putting out a video. So I hope you are gearing up for a wonderful Halloween if you celebrate Halloween. We have, for the past many years, we lived in a home that was not in a neighborhood conducive to trick-or-treating. And therefore, we never had one. In 16 years, we never had a single trick-or-treater, and I missed it so badly. And now we live in a wonderful trick-or-treating neighborhood, and I have stocked up on the candy, the good stuff too, chocolate bars and what have you. And I cannot wait for, hopefully, many trick-or-treaters this evening. I'm very excited about it. So, but first things first, if you are new to this channel, welcome. This is a channel about cross-stitching and so very much more. I'm so happy that you found me if you are new here, and I hope you like it enough to subscribe, to ring the bell so you'll know when I post a video, and become part of this neighborhood. We're a neighborhood here at XrossStitch, and I would love for you to be a new neighbor. And if you are a returning neighbor, thank you once again for coming back and being the backbone of this community, being the lifeblood of this community. Those are both pseudo Halloween references, bone, blood. If I can work a bat in there somehow, I will. Although hopefully not in my nose. So bad taste. Bad taste right off the bat. See what I did? Anyway, welcome. I've already done that part. Welcome new, welcome old, and let's just get started. Last week, I was searching for a word. I was referring to the collection of ornaments that I had FFO'd, and thank you for all your lovely comments about that. And let me just tangent, thank you for the comments that you write. I read every single one of them, and you know I do that by giving it a little heart. It is working really well, being able to do that and have you understanding that I do read each and every single one and enjoy them so much. They literally are the highlight of my week. And if you are a new subscriber and you let me know, I will write you a message welcoming you. If you ask me a question, I will write you a message welcoming you. But otherwise, I'm just going to give you that little heart because it really saves me time with so many lovely comments. Last season, I was writing back to every single one, and it really got to be time consuming and a little bit stressful. So this new system is really working of the heart, and every other week putting out a video. It's going great. I'm loving it. But back to my original point. In your comments, you gave me there was one recurring suggestion about the word that I should have used for a collection of ornaments. And let me just say, I know the word plethora. That is in my vocabulary, and it did come to mind. But you see, I didn't want to use plethora because P doesn't alliterate with O very well. I used the word ordning, which, by the way, is a Norwegian word for a sequence of things. There's your encyclopedia moment for the day. Ordning. But that didn't sound right. And plethora of ornaments just doesn't have the same kind of zing to it. But my dear friend across the pond, Sarah, of the Flosstube channel, So Me Sarah. And if you are not a subscriber to her, you must do it because she's wonderful. She does beautiful stitching, beautiful projects, and just as one of the sweetest souls on the face of the planet, I am proud to call her a friend. And I just adore her. She suggested a wonderful word for my collection of ornaments, and henceforth and forthwith, when I refer to them going forward, because you know there are going to be more ornaments stitched this season, they will be referred to as an ovation of ornaments. An ovation of ornaments. I love that so much. It's perfect. So thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that. It is now in the XrossStitch lexicon. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone who suggested the word plethora and thought that I didn't know that word. You know what? It's very likely that I might not have, because, there was a lot inside this head many years ago, and little by little it just keeps falling out like confetti in the wind. Moving on to the cross stitching. This week is not a royal flush floss tube. And we're going to talk more about the royal flush floss tube because 2 weeks ago you had some suggestions about that, and I agree with you. I think there should be 5, since a royal flush is constituted by 5 cards in poker. There should be 5 categories of a royal flush floss tube, and we'll talk about that during the interlude. But moving first to the finish. I had a finish this week. I actually had 2 finishes this week, and one is very large and one is one of my ornaments. The wonderful Cat-O-Lantern by Jody Rice at Satsuma Street, one of my favorite cross-stitching designers and companies. So colorful, and I've been doing a lot of her Christmas ornaments this season. I will continue to do more of those, and I'm also going to continue to do more Halloween. I may not stitch on the Halloween ornaments before next year, but I'm definitely going to keep doing these because I'm going to have a Halloween tree next year, you guys. It's going to be amazing. But I finished Cat-O-Lantern, and here it is. You're looking at it now. So much fun. So much color and color changes. This one took a little bit longer than I thought it would take. It's interesting with these Satsuma Street ornaments. Some take longer than others, and it doesn't seem to have anything to do really with how many colors or color changes there are. It's just, I guess it's a combination of the way I stitch it and the way it's laid out, but this one took a little bit longer than the other ones have. But I love it so much. I love that hat and collar. To me, that checkerboard hat, Harlequin-esque hat, just makes it. So I was happy to have that as the first in my collection of ornaments, Halloween ornaments by Satsuma Street. Not Halloween Cat, that's the other one. That's the one I did last year. Duh. Cat-O-Lantern by Satsuma Street. The other finish I had, and honestly, the project that monopolized my stitching time over the past 2 weeks. I wanted to stitch more on my Halloween projects. I wanted to work on Minerva, which I didn't. I wanted to work on Sleepy Hollow, which I did. And I wanted to work on my Satsuma Street ornaments, which I also did. So I did get a goodly bit of spooky stitching in. But what really took my time these past couple of weeks was a birthday gift for my neighbor. Actually, one of my neighbor's daughters, who is turning 14 in a week or so. And if you're watching this and you know who you are, you need to look away. I don't think she watches my Flosstube videos. I really don't think she does. But just in case, you need to look somewhere else. Just bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Is she gone? Okay, so she collects rubber ducks. And I told her that I was going to stitch a rubber ducky for her. And I did. And I found a beautiful, beautiful chart by the Stitch Patterns. If you'll remember, recently I completed Sunday on a Sunday afternoon on the Grand, the Sunday in Park with George one. And lo and behold, the stitch patterns had a pattern simply entitled Duck. And there it is. So very cute. I just love this chart so much. This thing, do not let it fool you. This is a very small piece. Well, not very small, but it's a smaller piece in size. It's only about 4 inches by 4 inches square, at the most 4.5. But there are 2,515 stitches in this piece and 12 different shades of DMC. And it took a lot of time. And I stitched on it almost every single day for the past 2 weeks. I would say, well, no, I know exactly. It 8 days. 8 days out of the 14 I spent on this particular piece. And I just love it. This is a piece of Aida that was gifted to me by one of my viewers. I want to say it was Rebecca J. But I could look that up. I'm not exactly sure. But I chose it because I love the way that the bleaching of this, or the dyeing process, this was probably a white piece of Aida that was dyed this light shade of blue. But I love the way these horizontal striations, if you will, give the effect of water. And I thought that that would just be perfect for this. I had it in my stash. I stitched most all of this with, I had all the call for DMCs. So I just whipped it out in 8 days, and I'm so pleased with it. I'm going to frame this myself. I'm going to mount it on acid-free foam core and put it in a small dusty blue wooden frame, and I will show it to you as soon as I get finished with it. But I just love it, and I'm very proud of it. I did add back stitching to this because the tonality of these shades is so very similar to the tonality of this, of the fabric, and I added that DMC in a back stitch and to all around the perimeter and to a couple of places in the feathers just to make, and the beak, just to make it stand out. But I love it very, very much, and I hope that she loves it as well. So that is Duck. Not very Halloween-y, but very cute. Okay, let's talk about this Royal Flush Flosstube, because apparently I have started a thing, or at least I've started it here in this neighborhood. I don't know if any other Flosstubers are going to use this or even want to use this, but they're welcome to use it if they want to, because it's pretty much specifically for Flosstubers, right? You know, those are the people who are going to say, we've got a Royal Flush Flosstube. And literally, this is just, you know, I say things extemporaneously just off the top of my head, and then my wonderful neighbors, you grab onto them and start running with them, and I just love that. I love that so much, because that really tells me that this is a community that we're co-creating. It's not just all about the man behind the camera, or in front of the camera, or actually both in front and behind the, anyway. You understand what I'm saying. Royal Flush Flosstube. A Royal Flush, it's so hard to say. A Royal Flush Flosstube has 5 cards. A Royal Flush has 5 cards. A Royal Flush... I snorted again. A Royal Flush Flosstube has 5 categories that designate it as a Royal Flush Flosstube. 4 of them are categories that are very self-explanatory. An FFO, a fully finished object, a finished object, a work in progress, and a start. The 5th category could be one of a few things. Or if you have more than one of these things, it's definitely a Royal Flush Flosstube. But in order for it to be counted as a Royal Flush Flosstube, it has to have the 4 that I just mentioned and one of something in the 5th category, which are a start and a finish, meaning the same project. You started it and finished it between your latest Flosstube and the one prior. Does that make sense? So, for example, this counts as a start and finish because you did not see this before, but I started it and finished it in the window of time between my last floss tube and this one. Okay, that's one category. The other is a refinish. If you have fully finished something, but you took it out of the frame or you ripped it apart and put it together as a pillow or whatever, that is a refinish. That counts as category 5 as well. And I know that start and finish and refinish, these could all be considered one of the other categories, but hey, just play along. We'll have fun with it. So start and finish, refinish, or a chapter finish of a stitch along, a finish for now of like a stitch along, meaning you have finished a project as much as you can because you haven't received the next part of the chart, etc., etc. Let's see, chapter finish, finish for now, or a page finish of a Haid. I knew it was something. So those are the things that constitute that 5th category. And when I have a video that has all of those things in it, then it will be a royal flush floss tube from now on. And it should be a rare thing. So there you go. Those are the categories. And if you are not a floss tuber, I am sorry I just wasted 3 minutes of your time. Back to the cross-stitching. My work in progress for this week, as I mentioned earlier, was the beautiful Sleepy Hollow by Glendon Place, designed by Cheryl Granda. This is the piece that you chose for me when I first started my Flosstube channel, and I do enjoy it. It's very difficult. You're seeing the previous and the current state. I enjoy this piece. It is slow going for me because this Jobelan is very difficult for me to stitch on. I have to go slowly with it because I'm a neat freak with my stitching. And I wanted to get some height to the piece, so I worked on the tree. And I really think it's going to be gorgeous when it is done. I am still debating on whether or not to stitch that verse. If I do stitch the verse, I will rewrite the verse, and I will probably put it in a different lettering because I'm not too crazy about that, just backstitch. That'll be a charting on my own that I do, but we'll see what happens. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to finish the main design before I decide about that. But yeah, that's my Sleepy Hollow. I worked on it that was one night before I started on my rubber ducky. And I'm very happy with it. I'm probably going to put it away until the first of the year after Halloween, but at least I got something done on it. It will go on my Whipco board for next year, which I'm going to do Whipco next year too, of course. We'll talk about that toward the end of the year. Sleepy Hollow, Glendon Place, fabulous. My start this week was another Satsuma Street Halloween ornament. Surprise, surprise. And this one is the very, very cute Wise Guy. The owl, the wizardly owl. I love this one. I love owls in general. I just think they're amazing creatures. And so, of course, this is going to have to go on my Halloween tree. I got a good start on him. Again, I didn't work very much on anything other than that duck, but I did get at least the top part of him done. He's kind of like the Cheshire Owl right now because you can only see his head and his hat. But that's what I got done, and that will definitely be a finish for next Flosstube video, the first one of November. So be on the lookout for that. If you follow me on Instagram, and I hope you do follow me on Instagram, it's right there if you want to see it. You will probably see, I always try to hold back and save things for the Flosstube video, but when I finish these ornaments or other things, I do tend to post on Instagram, especially if it's toward the first week in between two Flosstube videos. So Wise old owl, wise guy. Satsuma Street. Love it. It's time for story time with Chris, and because today is Halloween and this is a special day, I'm going to pull out a clip from the archives. I didn't broadcast, obviously, last year because I was in the throes of my move. Actually, closing on this house. We closed on this house on October 31st of last year. But exactly 1 year ago today. Wow. Just dawned on me. I was in the throes of that and did not broadcast. But the year prior, I did a full-on costume and talked about some of the traditions that I, traditions. I talked about some of the fun things about Halloween when I was a little boy in my small town of Selgin, Alabama. And I thought I'd bring that out because many of you are new here. And even if you're not new, this was 2 years ago and you've probably forgotten all about it. I did not do a big brassy costume this year. Maybe will next year. I thought this was pretty festive though. But I thought that this would be fun to bring out and dust off. And I hope you enjoy it. Whenever the decorations started appearing, I started getting very excited. And that usually happened firstly in school. Those wonderful honeycomb vintage decorations that would go up. And you know, it's interesting. Some of these things, some of these vintage decorations that were not vintage when they were on the bulletin boards and up in the hallways in my particular, during my particular childhood, they're making a recurrence. And even some of them recently I've seen in Halloween cross-stitch charts, some of these wonderful vintage decorations, put my teeth back in, that would herald the coming of Halloween. And you knew that right after Halloween was Thanksgiving and right after that was Christmas. So it was very exciting. The honeycomb, and you know what I mean by honeycomb decorations. There was those wonderful paper things that I kind of still want to put up today, that I want for next year, like up here. But I refrained this year. There was also in my particular, we did this thing, and I don't know that it continued very long after my particular year, but in first grade, I was Halloween King. It was the first time and the last time I ever won anything by popular vote. There were 3 classes. They picked a boy and a girl from each class. Those 3 classes competed and to raise money for something. And I can't remember what the thing was that we were raising money for. But the top fundraiser among the 3 at the Halloween Carnival, which was held at the National Guard Armory, the winner was announced and they went up and they were the official Halloween King and Queen. We were called Halloween King and Queen, even though, and we weren't like Halloween Prince or Princess. We were Halloween King and Queen, but then there was a grade winner. So my little, one of my best girlfriends, her name was Fifi Moreland, and I were chosen by class vote to be Halloween King and Queen for my first grade class. And we began raising money. Now, my mother, she did not know exactly how to go about doing such. Other children's mothers made brownies and did bake sale type things and what have you, but no, not my mother. She took pictures of me and put them on jars and put them around town in the stores. Basically, I was trying to raise money by tip jars. I had nothing to do with this decision and failed miserably at it. Fifi and I were not chosen overall Halloween King and Queen for first grade. It was somewhat of a disappointment, but I got to dress up in a nice suit, and it was a fun night, and it was the whole experience as I look back on it. I can't imagine what I was thinking back then when I was in first grade and going through all that, but it sure is a hoot to talk about now because it's just so ludicrous. She put my picture on jars around town. It's very strange, but and this you're looking at the picture that she put up on the jars. I'm not one of them. Anyway, that was part of it. The good part of that story is I adored my first grade teacher. I adored my first grade teacher so much. Her name was Doris Whitlock. She moved away. She was there maybe a year or so after I went to second or third grade. But I remember being very sad when she left, and I don't know what happened to her or where she is now, or even if she is still with us. But she was a dear, dear, sweet woman. I have fond memories of her. And as you'll recall, first grade was somewhat traumatizing for me, and she really was wonderful in trying to keep me at ease and keep me in the classroom so I wouldn't run away. So I just loved Miss Whitlock. You know, that Halloween carnival was a big deal, and it wasn't only a big deal to the children who were competing for Halloween King and Queen. There was all kinds of things that happened. There were raffles and prizes and bobbing for apples and what have you, but the big controversial event of the evening that everybody was all in about was the cakewalk. You know what this cakewalk thing is? They would put chairs up all around the room, big room in the National Guard Armory. And it was a musical chair situation. And I don't know exactly how it worked, but they would go around the room for cakes that everybody would bring and donate to the thing. And let me tell you, those things could get cutthroat. Some of those real sweet ladies would knock each other flat to the floor to get a lane cake if it was. I've never seen anything like it. It was quite remarkable. You never know the power of a good caramel cake until you see Betty Jean knocked to the linoleum. Oh dear. Trick-or-treating on our street was amazing because, you know, as I've said, I was on a street of widowed older women. And those ladies did not go to the Five and Dime and buy chocolate candy. No. They baked. Miss Chloe at the end of the street made little chocolate chip cookies that were amazing. Miss Mary Will, who you've heard about before, she used to make these teeny tiny muffins, like cupcakes, or like muffins. They weren't iced. They didn't need to be iced, but they were about as big around as a quarter, and they were orange muffins. And those things were the most delicious things you have ever eaten in your life. She did something with orange juice, or I don't know, and they were small, but my gosh, and they would put them in little cloth bags and hand them out. And that was, and we got candy. I mean, not everybody on the street did that, but a lot of the older women, they actually made things to give to the children. That would never happen now. But in our town, it was fine to do that. It was absolutely fine, and no one thought twice about it. But those are some of my childhood Halloween memories. I'm sure I'll remember more for next year. Talk about later years when I was part of the haunted houses and what have you. But I hope that you have, however you choose to recognize it, if you choose to recognize it, I hope that you have a safe and fun Halloween in your family and with your children and grandchildren and whatever you may have. Happy Mail segment today because I received some happy mail over the past couple of weeks, and I just have to take a moment to thank these lovely ladies for their kindness. First, to Jody D., a longtime neighbor here at XrossStitch, a dear, sweet person. She accidentally purchased 2 of the Christmas ornament cross-stitch magazines. I know things are backwards here, and I promise you I have tried to adjust my settings so that that would not be the case, and for some reason it's not working. I have to investigate it further, so apologies for that tangent. Back to this. Jody, thank you so much. You know I'm going to be stitching some things out of here, and I love having these just to collect. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it, and it's so thoughtful. Thank you. Also, our neighbor, another neighbor across the pond, Leslie. Leslie sent me a lovely letter, and I'm going to show you. She sent me a couple of things, and I'm going to, anyway, here we go. These cute little, she sent me these cute little, these are actually miniature card charts. And she, of course, said I could keep them or stitch them or use them as giveaways. I'm going to maybe do all of those. I'm going to keep one. I will stitch one. I'm going to keep one for myself and stitch it. I'm going to stitch one and send it to my friend Christy. She is on the board of an arts guild in her hometown of Columbus, Mississippi, and they have a new endeavor that they're doing, and I encourage you to go watch her Flosstube. She's wonderful. She collects vintage sewing accoutrements. She does beautiful embroidery and beautiful cross-stitching and weaving. She's a Renaissance woman, but they have an art endeavor for tiny pieces of artwork, and she wants more fiber arts as part of that exhibit. So I'm going to stitch one of these and send it to her for inclusion in that art exhibit. And then one of them I'm going to use as a giveaway. So Leslie, I'm going to spread the wealth with this lovely, thoughtful gift. So thank you, thank you, thank you for that. But the other thing she sent me is incredibly exciting because it's actually a reusable grocery bag that they have over there. And I may use it for that, but tonight, I'm going to use it to give away candy. Look, it's a Snoopy grocery bag. It says spooky on one side, and it says boo 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 on the other, and you know that's Woodstock. You know that's Woodstock. And it's really wonderful and big, and it's going to hold all the candy. I'm going to give the candy to the kids out of the Snoopy. I'm a grown man. This brings me so much happiness. Thank you so much. Leslie, I can't tell you how much I appreciate these things. So thank you both, Jody and Leslie. Let's move on to the giveaways from last week. I had 4 different giveaways, and you all used the keywords in your comments, those of you who were interested in receiving them or being in the running to receive them. And here are the winners. The first is a bundle of quilt templates. All 4 of these are coming to you. These are originally from the Fat Quarter Shop. It's So Emma. Different patterns, etc., etc. And you explained to me what some of these are and mean, so thank you for that from last week. But the winner of this bundle of quilt templates is Susan Knoll. Susan Knoll. Congratulations, Susan. Next, we have a couple of vintage chart books. One of these is includes designs by Paula Vaughn. The other Alma Lynn. These go to Night Fear. Night Fear has a Flosstube channel that of the same name. I'm sure that is not her name, but you know who you are. You won these 2. They'll be coming your way. Next, we have a really, really cute chart called Oh Dear. This was in Stitch Quarterly, again from the folks at Fat Quarter Shop. This goes to Joan Morton. Congratulations, Joan Morton. You won Oh Dear. And finally, we have Clovis and Stanley. a really cute Stitching with the Housewives chart. Little raven there. And I figured out why it's Clovis and Stanley. I had to look twice at this. Clovis is probably the crow in the cornfield, but there's a teeny weeny little something coming out of his mug. And I'm not sure what that is. It's either a grasshopper or some kind of, anyway, that's Stanley. This goes to Linda Daly or Daly. Congratulations, all of you. If you will please email me, each and every one of you, with your mailing address to XrossStitch@gmail.com. I'm putting it right down here. Please note there are 3 S's in that, and the cross stitch, it begins with an X. Send me your address and I will get those out to you very, very soon. We have more giveaways this week too, and these are sort of themed for today. The first giveaway, some of these were donated by our neighbor, Marianne J, by the way, so thank you, Marianne. The first, didn't take this out of the wrapper. I don't use these, but I know many of you do. This is a project card with the flannel or the felt, sorry, that you keep your threads on, and then it has the floss drops and what have you. This has, I don't know if you can see, but this has some monsters up here, and it actually says Monster Mash on here. So this is the Monster Mash, what do you call these things? I should know that by now. There's no excuse for me not to know what one calls these things. Bitsy Keep Stack. This is a Bitsy Keep Stack from That's So Kelly. There you go. If you would like to be considered for this, use the word monster. Monster. Next, also in keeping with the season, we have a chart from Hello from Liz Matthews. This is Autumn Tree. Let me see if you can see that. This is to be constructed as a stand-up autumn tree. Keyword for this will be autumn. Autumn. This is a beautiful kit. And now we're moving out of autumn into winter stitching preparation. This is a beautiful kit from the Primitive Hare. And if I'm not mistaken, this comes with the finishing board. It's in there, you just can't see it. The finishing board, the fabric, and the charms. I think the only thing that's not in here is the floss, but this is Snow Bees. And it's a beautiful, like a lady with, it's pretty. I just will not stitch this. So I'm going to offer this up as a giveaway. The keyword for this will be snow. Snow. And then finally, this is something, I love this. I love this. I will never stitch it though. But this is a vintage Stony Creek collection booklet that has a Saturday Evening Post cover on it. And I know it's reversed, but it's Santa taking a snooze as he's letting the elves finish up what he was working on. It's a Norman Rockwell, if I'm not mistaken. So if you would like to be considered for this, use the keyword Rockwell. Rockwell. All one word. So those are the giveaways for next week. As with all of them, please be a subscriber to my channel. Be 18 years of age or older so that I can ask you for your address. Please like the video and don't use any, in your comments, don't use prize or giveaway or any, you know what to do. You know what to do. And we will draw for these in 2 weeks' time in the first November video. Lastly, today we're going to wave at the neighbors. This is a mini Neighbors Corner segment. Some of these were sent to me before my hiatus, but I pulled them out of the vault because they were so appropriate to today, and I hope you enjoy them. The first comes to us from Chris R. This is a beautiful Halloween piece, a Shannon Christine pattern. This was stitched on 14 count Aida in the color Tuscan Sun. It called for French knots, but she opted for black beads because this was Chris's second ever cross-stitch piece. Isn't that gorgeous? Spiderweb lace frame. She purchased some lace from Joann's and did a lace frame around it. Isn't that a great idea? I just thought that was so beautiful. So thank you, Chris, for sharing that. I'm sorry it took me so long to put it on a video, but it's the perfect day for it. Beautiful, beautiful work. Next, we have from Kelly S. I'm sure you've seen this one before. It's a beautiful Blackbird Designs chart called Midnight Ride, but look at this, how she finished it. I just love it. She dyed the fabric herself with tea and coffee. And of course, the great stitching with the housewives inspired her finishing of this on this round board. I love those acorns that she finished it with on the top. Just beautiful. Thank you so much for sending that to me. Again, I think that was sent a long time ago, but now we've seen it, and I'm sure people will compliment you on your wonderful work. And lastly, we have from Susan B. Look at this. This is the beautiful Modern Folk Embroideries chart, Spirits of the Dead. I stitched this and finished it. And I thought mine was beautiful, but look at this. It is just so gorgeous. This is on a fabric from the Primitive Hair called Dark Spell. It's a 30 count linen. And she used DMC floss in the darkest colors that she could find. Susan, this is stunning. Absolutely stunning. It makes me want to go back and restitch it. I'm not going to do that. I like mine. But yours is just off the chart beautiful. So thank you for sharing that with me. Thank all three of you. And again, I'm sorry that it took so long, but I'm so happy to feature them on the Halloween episode of 2023. Congratulations for your beautiful work. So that's today's episode, the conclusion of the Halloween episode of 2023. I hope that you have a wonderful evening ahead. I hope that you have lots of adorable trick-or-treaters and that you give out good candy. Or if you're going trick-or-treating, I hope you get good candy. And I hope that there are very few occurrences of TP'd trees or egging of cars or any of that stuff that I used to get up to in high school. Actually, I never did. I say that, but I never did. I was always too afraid to do those sorts of things. I was a good child. I was a good child and a scaredy cat teenager. Anyway, have a wonderful Halloween. Have a wonderful couple of weeks ahead. I hope that you have some great stitching time in the next 2 weeks. Take care, and as always, say a prayer for peace. Good night.